My name is Ian Murphy, and I discovered a werewolf's den. The unsettling discovery, I've always found solace in the quiet solitude of the woods. Not a professional explorer, just someone who needed to escape the relentless hum of city life. Still, to find a moment of peace away from the mundane. My backpack was light, my mind lighter, as I ventured deeper into the familiar trails, seeking nothing more than the rustle of leaves and the distant chirping of birds. That's when I stumbled upon it. Not a grand dramatic discovery, but something subtle, profoundly out of place. A trail, barely visible, veering off the familiar path I'd walked 100 times. It wasn't just overgrown, it felt wrong. A strange, musky scent hung in the air, a smell I couldn't quite place. And an unnatural silence had fallen over the woods, the usual symphony of nature replaced by an eerie hush. My curiosity, a trait I usually prided myself on, tugged at me, pulling me deeper into a situation that, in hindsight, screamed for me to turn back. The woods, which had been my sanctuary moments before, now felt foreboding. Every rustle of leaves seemed to hint at unseen movement, and the unnatural quiet was occasionally punctuated by distant guttural sounds I couldn't identify. That musky, animalistic scent, with an undertone of something decaying, grew stronger with every step, a primal warning I foolishly ignored. It was more than just a smell. It was a presence, a subtle foreshadowing of the enhanced senses of the creature that would soon haunt my every breath. The air itself felt heavy, charged with an unsettling vibe that transformed the serene forest into a character of its own, a silent accomplice to the terror that awaited. A cold knot formed in my stomach, a primal instinct screaming at me to turn back. Every fiber of my being urged caution, yet an irresistible pull, a morbid curiosity, compelled me forward. I knew, even then, that I was making a choice, stepping away from the chance to walk away, to preserve the safe, predictable world I knew. The tension was a living thing, tightening its grip with each step, and I felt a chilling inevitability settle over me, as if my fate was already sealed. Within the lair's shadow, the true horror began the moment I ventured into the den. It wasn't just a cave. It was a maw, ancient and dangerous, undeniably inhabited by something monstrous. The air grew heavy, a sudden drop in temperature chilling me to the bone, and an oppressive darkness swallowed me whole. I had to squeeze through a narrow opening, then descend into the earth, feeling the walls press in. A suffocating claustrophobia seizing me. I was trapped, cut off, my breathing room shrinking with every step. The inherent danger of the situation screaming in my ears. The air inside was thick, an overpowering stench of damp earth, musk, decay, and something distinctly wild and predatory assaulting my senses. Sounds were minimal, yet impactful. The rhythmic drip of water, my own ragged breathing echoing in the confined space, and a distant, unsettling thrum that vibrated through the stone. My flashlight beam cut through the oppressive darkness, causing shadows to dance, obscuring the full extent of the horror. Glimpses of disturbed earth, deep scratches on the stone walls, matted fur, and scattered bones. Some animal, some disturbingly human, painted a gruesome picture of brutal habitation. A crude bed of leaves and hides lay in one corner, emphasizing the primal nature of the occupant. As I explored, my flashlight revealed increasingly disturbing clues. These weren't just signs of a generic animal. They were evidence of something intelligent, powerful, and terrifying. The den was a place of primal chaos and brutal disarray, with gnawed bones and shredded remnants of what looked like past victims. Then I saw them, metal rings set in the floor in front of what looked like a crude altar. It suggested a place of restraint, or perhaps a dark ritual. This wasn't just a beast. It was a cursed being, hinting at an internal struggle or a deeper, possibly occult connection to its lycanthropy. The threat escalated beyond a mere biological curse, adding a profound, almost cosmic dimension to the horror. My fear intensified with every gruesome discovery, yet my knowledge remained terrifyingly limited. I was clueless, scared, and utterly isolated, piecing together these disturbing elements without the full picture. The gradual revelation of the threat, rather than an immediate unveiling, built a suffocating suspense, forcing my imagination to fill in the terrifying blanks with images far worse than reality. The glimpse of horror. Then came the pivotal moment, the transition from abstract dread to concrete terror. My first, undeniable encounter with the werewolf, it wasn't immediate or complete, but a terrifying, unpredictable unveiling. The first sign was fleeting, a shifting shadow at the edge of my flashlight beam, followed by a sudden guttural sound that vibrated through the very rock. The musky odor intensified, signaling something large and unnatural moving within the den. It was just a glimpse, keeping the monster partially obscured, maximizing its terrifying impact. The creature's eyes were the first thing that truly registered. Wide and glowing, red as the blood of the dead under their paws. Its gaze, even from a distance, felt like it could paralyze me, a chilling power I instinctively recoiled from. Then came the sounds, a deep snarl that seemed to tear through the air, the scrape of massive claws against stone, and heavy predatory breathing. I could only make out a massive bipedal form. It's much larger than an ordinary human, covered in thick, matted hair. With elongated fangs and claws that glinted in the faint light, my mind struggled to fill in the terrifying blanks, conjuring something far more monstrous than any explicit detail could have provided. My reaction was a visceral blend of denial, overwhelming terror, and a primal flight instinct. My rational mind struggled, utterly failing to process the impossible reality before me. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. Yet the fear was palpable, grounding the supernatural threat in a terrifying, undeniable reality. This was a real werewolf, a force of pure, untamed destruction. It had lost all sense of their humanity and was driven by an insatiable bloodlust, acting like a wild, furious animal that does not distinguish good people or friends from strangers. The disappearance of the human mind, the inherent lack of control, was a profound source of horror. There was no negotiation, no appeal to humanity, only raw, unbridled savagery. Moments of terrifying calm were punctuated by sudden spikes of intensity, shattering my perception of reality and keeping me on a knife's edge. The hunt begins. This was it. The critical turning point. The werewolf became acutely aware of my presence, and the relentless pursuit began. The stakes immediately escalated to life or death. The moment of discovery was abrupt and terrifying. A misstep. A dropped item, my water bottle, clattered against the stone floor, the sound echoing like a gunshot. Or perhaps it was an involuntary gasp that escaped my lips. Whatever it was, it alerted the creature to my hidden presence. The illusion of safety shattered, plunging me into immediate, undeniable peril. The werewolf's reaction was one of primal rage and focused intent. Its enhanced speed and stamina to go along with that speed were immediately apparent, a terrifying demonstration of its overwhelming physical advantage. It moved with an unnatural swiftness, its unbridled animal drives fully unleashed. A desperate escape from the claustrophobic confines of the den ensued. I scrambled through the oppressive dark, navigating treacherous obstacles and the unknown layout of the lair. Raw, unadulterated fear fueled my primal instinct for survival. The den's tight spaces and hidden dangers became active impediments, creating additional obstacles that heightened the suspense. The limited time before the werewolf closed in further amplified the sense of urgency, forcing a frantic pace. The most chilling realization hit me as I burst from the immediate confines of the den. Now it knows where I live. As I fled into the relative openness of the outside world, I understood. It had seen me, marked me, and it would not forget. This understanding was rooted in its superior senses, particularly its increased sensitivity to and ability to recognize smells, as well as its sharpened eyesight and night vision. I had left an undeniable trail, and its ability to track by scent meant my home, once a sanctuary, was no longer safe. The horror transformed from a contained encounter to an existential threat. This man-eating monster, driven by an insatiable hunger for destruction, was now poised to relentlessly pursue me, blurring the lines between the wild and the domestic. The chase felt personal, terrifying, like a hunter stalking its prey. Desperate flight, this was the core of the chase. A desperate flight against an overwhelming threat, showcasing the werewolf's formidable abilities. The werewolf was a relentless, unstoppable force. Its enhanced speed and stamina to go along with that speed meant it did not tire. Maintaining a terrifying pace that no human could match, its unwavering focus on its quarry was absolute. My vulnerability was starkly highlighted through my physical and emotional exhaustion, a human limitations fatigue, searing pain in my lungs, overwhelming fear were contrasted sharply with the werewolf's supernatural endurance. Every strained breath, every aching muscle, made my ordeal more impactful, more terrifyingly real. The chase was punctuated by terrifying near misses and environmental obstacles. The werewolf nearly caught me multiple times, forcing desperate maneuvers or granting me temporary reprieves through natural barriers. The unpredictability of these moments kept me on edge, never quite knowing what would happen next. While the werewolf was overwhelmingly powerful, brief glimpses of its weaknesses offered a sliver of false hope. A desperate attempt to use fire. A flickering thought of silver or aconitum-known weaknesses crossed my mind, hinting at potential, albeit difficult, solutions. These were not definitive solutions, merely temporary deterrents, demonstrating the terrifying limitations of human defenses against an immortal and rapidly healing creature. During one terrifying near miss, its wolf's gaze momentarily froze me in terror, allowing the creature to gain ground, emphasizing its supernatural dominance and adding a layer of psychological horror. The sensory experience of the chase was overwhelming. The pounding of my own feet, my ragged breathing, the snapping of branches underfoot, and the werewolf's guttural snarls filled the air. The landscape blurred around me, fueled by adrenaline and raw survival instinct, making every terrifying second palpable and immersive. The lingering threat. The climax of the immediate chase culminated in my narrow escape, but crucially it left a terrifying, unresolved understanding. The threat was far from over. This was the chilling payoff promised by the story's title. I managed to elude the werewolf, perhaps through sheer luck. A desperate, last-ditch maneuver, or by exploiting a momentary distraction. My escape was precarious, leaving me physically and emotionally shattered. It was a near impossible feat, not a definitive victory. The journey home was fraught with paranoia. Every shadow, every rustle of leaves, every distant sound was now perceived as a potential threat. My ordinary world had been irrevocably shattered, replaced by a pervasive, suffocating sense of dread. The chilling realization, encapsulated by the phrase, "Now it knows where I live," hit me as I reached my perceived safe haven. I locked the doors, collapsed in exhaustion, and tried to believe I was secure. But then I saw it, a subtle, undeniable sign that confirmed the werewolf had successfully tracked me. A distinctive paw print in the mud near my door, the lingering musky scent of the beast permeating the air around my home, and then a distant howl that sounded disturbingly close. Its enhanced senses and relentless nature were the causal links, transforming my home from a sanctuary into a psychological prison. I was no longer merely hunted in the wild. I was hunted. At home, blurring the lines between the mundane and the monstrous, creating a profound sense of isolation, even within my own walls. The story concludes with an unresolved ending, leaving me trapped in my home, knowing the werewolf is out there, waiting. The fear is no longer of the unknown, but of a known, imminent, and inescapable threat. The high stakes are now permanent. This wasn't a victory, merely a temporary reprieve, reinforcing the werewolf's immortality and relentless pursuit. The story leaves a truly chilling and unresolved impression of perpetual danger,